What if I told you that you weren't born hating yourself, that it's something you learned, and that you can unlearn it? Would you believe me? If the answer is maybe, then this video will completely change how you see yourself. You know that voice in your head? The one that criticizes you when you look in the mirror. That compares you to other people. That convinces you that you're not good enough, pretty enough, smart enough. That voice that feels like it's yours, but actually isn't. Know what it's like to live with that constant companion of self-criticism. I know what it's like to feel small even when you achieve great things. I know what it's like to doubt your own worth even when everyone around you tells you the opposite. And I know what it's like to get tired of fighting against yourself every single day. Louise Hay, the woman who revolutionized our understanding of self-love, made a discovery that changed millions of lives. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who can choose which voice to listen to. And today, you're going to understand exactly what that means. Today, you'll uncover the secret that took Louise decades to understand. The secret to completely transforming your self-esteem, not with superficial tricks or empty motivational phrases, but with a profound shift in how you relate to yourself. I'm going to ask you a question that might seem strange, but it's fundamental. When was the first time you remember thinking you weren't good enough? Can you recall a specific moment in your childhood when someone made you feel small, inadequate, or inferior? If you could remember something, know that that moment didn't define who you are. It merely planted a seed of doubt that grew until it became that persistent inner critic. And if you couldn't remember, that's even more revealing, because it means those messages were so subtle and constant that they became invisible. Louise Hay discovered something revolutionary during her years of research and personal work. Young children don't have natural self-criticism. They don't look in the mirror and think, "How ugly." They don't hesitate to dance because they think they don't dance well. They simply are, without judgment, without comparison, without self-censorship. Self-criticism is a learned behavior, and everything that's been learned can be unlearned. I'll tell you a story that Louise shared, a story that changed my perspective forever. She observed two children playing in a park. One fell and slightly hurt themselves. The first child started crying, and immediately their mother rushed over, hugged them, comforted them, and said, "It's okay, my love. Accidents happen." The second child also fell, also slightly hurt themselves. But when they started to cry, their mother said impatiently, "Stop the drama, you were clumsy. Be more careful next time." The child stopped crying quickly and became quiet. But Louise saw something in their eyes that made her thoughtful. Years later, Louise understood what she had seen. In the first child, she saw someone learning that they deserved comfort when they got hurt. In the second, someone learning that they were to blame for their own accidents and that their feelings were inconvenient. This second child was learning to criticize themselves. They were learning that when something went wrong, it was their fault. They were learning that their natural feelings were excessive. They were learning, without realizing it, to be their own enemy. And here's Louise's most profound discovery. Most of us carry within us the voice of that impatient mother, the voice that blames us when we make mistakes, that minimizes our feelings, that treats us with a harshness we would never use with another person. But that voice isn't you. It's an echo of the past that keeps playing automatically. And Louise discovered that you can change the station. Let me explain how the mind works when it comes to self-esteem. Your brain has two parts constantly conversing. One part that observes, and one part that comments. The part that observes simply records the facts. I fell off my bike. The part that comments adds interpretations. Because I'm clumsy. Most people think that the mind's comments are absolute truths. But Louise discovered that they are merely opinions based on old programming. Opinions that can be questioned, challenged, and eventually replaced. I'll give you a practical example. You make a mistake at work. The observing part registers. I made a mistake. But immediately the commenting part fires. I'm incompetent. They're going to fire me. I always mess things up. I'm no good. A person with healthy self-esteem hears these comments and thinks, wow, what an exaggeration. It was just a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. I'll learn from this and move on. But a person with low self-esteem believes every word of that internal court. Louise called this difference a relationship with one's own mind. People with high self-esteem have a questioning relationship with their own negative thoughts. People with low self-esteem have a relationship of total subordination. And here comes the revelation that changed everything for Louise. You can choose what kind of relationship you have with your own mind. You can treat self-critical thoughts as unquestionable facts. Or you can treat them as the opinion of someone who doesn't know you very well. Because think about it, that critical voice in your head, does it really know you? Does it know all the times you've been courageous? All the times you've helped someone? All your unique qualities? All the challenges you've overcome? Louise realized that the voice of self-criticism is curiously ignorant of our strengths. It only seems to remember the mistakes, the failures, the times we weren't perfect. It's like a prosecuting attorney who only presents evidence against you, never in your favor. But you don't have to accept this internal attorney as your official representative. You can hire a defense attorney. You can start questioning the accusations. You can demand evidence. You can present counter-arguments. Louise developed what she called a balanced internal court. Instead of just one voice accusing you, you also cultivate a voice that defends you. A voice that treats you with the same kindness you would treat your best friend. I'll give you an example of how this works in practice. Your critical mind says, "You're ugly." Your defense attorney replies, "That's your opinion, but many people find me beautiful, and beauty is subjective anyway." Your critical mind insists, "You can't do anything right." Your attorney counters, "That's a lie. Just yesterday, I solved 3 difficult problems." At first, it seems strange, as if you're talking to yourself. But Louise discovered that this is exactly what you already do all the time. The difference is that now you're talking to yourself with respect instead of contempt. And there's something even deeper to this. Louise Hay realized that when we change the way we speak to ourselves, we change the way we exist in the world. Because how you treat yourself internally determines how you allow others to treat you externally. If you constantly criticize yourself, you accept unnecessary criticism from others. If you devalue yourself, you accept being devalued. If you treat yourself badly, you tolerate being treated badly. Your relationship with yourself is the blueprint for all other relationships. But when you learn to be your own ally, something magical happens. You stop accepting disrespect from others. You stop settling for crumbs of attention. You stop apologizing for existing. Because now you have a solid foundation of self-worth that no one can shake. Louise always said a phrase that resonated with everyone. The most important relationship in your life is the relationship you have with yourself, because it's the only one that will last from birth to death. And this relationship, like any other, can be healed, improved, transformed. You can go from being your own enemy to your own best friend. You can go from a harsh critic to a gentle supporter. You can go from someone who diminishes you to someone who strengthens you. But here's what Louise considered the most revolutionary insight. You don't need to gain self-esteem. You need to stop destroying the self-esteem you already have, naturally. Let me explain this better. Every baby is born with complete self-love. Babies don't hate themselves. They don't compare themselves. They don't judge themselves as inadequate. They simply exist with total natural self-acceptance. That original self-esteem never went away. It's under layers and layers of negative programming. But it's still there. Louise said that. Regaining self-esteem isn't about building something new. It's about removing what's preventing something that already exists from shining. It's like a marble statue. The sculptor doesn't add beauty to the marble. He removes the excess stone to reveal the beauty that was always there. Your natural self-esteem is like that statue. It's all there, waiting to be revealed. And you know what the most powerful tool is to remove these layers of self-criticism? Louise discovered that it's surprisingly simple. Consistent, respectful treatment of yourself. Not grand, dramatic gestures. Not affirmations you don't believe. Just stopping treating yourself badly. Just starting to speak to yourself with the same care you would speak to someone you love. Just defending yourself from your own excessive criticism. Louise always told a beautiful analogy to explain this. If you had a plant at home and every day you told it, "How ugly you are. Your leaves are horrible. You'll never bloom," what would happen to the plant? Obviously, it would wilt. It would get sick. Maybe it would die. But if every day you watered it with affection, put it in the right sun, and said kind words, it would bloom naturally. Your self-esteem is exactly like that plant. It doesn't need to be forced to grow. It needs to stop being poisoned with constant self-criticism. It needs to be watered with daily self-respect. And the most beautiful thing is that when your self-esteem blooms naturally, it becomes unshakable. It doesn't depend on the approval of others. It doesn't fluctuate based on external successes or failures. It's a solid internal foundation that no one can take away from you. Now I'm going to teach you exactly how Louise Hay transformed people's self-esteem through what she called the internal mirror method. This is the most powerful technique she ever developed, and it will completely change the way you relate to yourself. First, you need to understand that Louise discovered something revolutionary. Your self-esteem is not determined by what happens to you, but by what you tell yourself about what happens to you. Let me give you a real-life example. 2 women are rejected on a date. The first thinks, "He didn't deserve me. I'm amazing and I'll find someone who recognizes my worth." The second thinks, "Of course he rejected me. I knew I wasn't good enough. I'll never find anyone." Same external situation, 2 completely different internal realities. The first woman leaves the date with her self-esteem intact. The second leaves devastated. The difference wasn't what happened. It was the internal conversation about what happened. Louise realized that we have an internal narrator who is constantly interpreting our lives. And the quality of our self-esteem depends entirely on the quality of that internal narration. The person with low self-esteem has a pessimistic narrator who always finds the negative side of everything. Got a compliment? It was just politeness. Had a success? It was luck. Someone showed affection? They must need something. The person with healthy self-esteem has a balanced narrator who interprets situations fairly. Got a compliment. That's nice. They recognized my effort. Had a success. I worked hard and it deserved it. Someone showed affection. What a kind person. And it's good that I attract people like that. And here's the discovery that changed everything. You can train your internal narrator. You can teach your mind to tell a kinder, fairer, more loving story about you. Louise developed a specific technique for this, which she practiced religiously after discovering she had cancer. She realized that years of self-hatred were literally making her body sick, and she decided she was going to heal herself by learning to love herself. The technique is called the self-love dialogue, and it works like this. Every time you notice your mind criticizing you, you stop and ask 3 fundamental questions. First question: is this thought about me kind? If the answer is no, you immediately rephrase the thought in a more compassionate way. Second question: is this thought about me true? Often you will discover that your self-critical thoughts are exaggerated, distorted, or completely false. Third question: is this thought about me helping me grow? If it's not, then it's just destructive self-criticism disguised as realism. I'll give you practical examples of how this works. Your mind says, I'm a failure. First question: is this kind? No. Rephrasing: I'm going through a difficult time, but that doesn't define me. Second question: is this true? Not completely. Rephrasing: I've had some failures, but I've also had successes. I'm a complex person with many facets. Third question: does this help me grow? No, it only paralyzes me. Rephrasing: what can I learn from this situation, and how can I do it differently next time? Louise practiced this hundreds of times a day at the beginning. She said it was like training a muscle that had been atrophied for decades. The muscle of self-love. And you know what happened? In 6 months of consistent practice, Louise Hay completely healed from cancer. But more importantly, she healed from the self-hatred that had plagued her since childhood. She discovered that when we stop attacking ourselves internally, our vital energy flourishes. When we stop wasting energy fighting against ourselves, that energy becomes available to create, to love, to realize our dreams. But Louise Hay went even deeper. She realized that true self-esteem isn't about thinking you're perfect. It's about accepting yourself completely, including your imperfections. Someone with false self-esteem needs constant validation. They need to always be strong, always successful, always admired. They live on an emotional roller coaster that depends entirely on external validation. A person with genuine self-esteem loves themselves in victory and defeat, on good days and bad days, when radiant and when vulnerable, because they understand that personal worth isn't something you achieve, it's something you recognize. Louise Hay used to make a beautiful analogy. She said that each person is like a unique diamond on Earth. A diamond doesn't need to prove it's valuable. It doesn't need to compete with other diamonds. It doesn't need to be perfect to shine. It's valuable simply by existing. You are like that diamond. Your value is intrinsic. It doesn't depend on performance. You don't need to earn the right to love yourself. You were born worthy of love, especially your own love. But our culture teaches the opposite. It teaches that self-love has to be earned, that you can only like yourself if you're successful, beautiful, approved of by others. Louise Hay called this internal conditional love and discovered that it's the root of all low self-esteem. Internal unconditional love is different. It's saying to yourself, I love you when I'm right and when I'm wrong, when I'm strong and when I'm weak, when I'm admired and when I'm criticized. Because my worth doesn't fluctuate based on external circumstances. And here comes the most beautiful part of Louise Hay's discovery. When you develop this unconditional love for yourself, you automatically stop desperately needing the love of others. It's not that you stop wanting to be loved. It's that you stop begging for love. You stop settling for crumbs. You stop tolerating disrespect just to avoid being alone. Because now you have a solid internal source of love that no one can take away. Louise Hay always said, when you become your best friend, you're never truly alone. And when you're not afraid of solitude, you only accept company that truly adds value to your life. Now I'm going to teach you the most powerful technique that Louise Hay developed to build this solid foundation of self-love. She called it the Mirror of Truth ritual. Every day, for 21 days, you're going to look in the mirror and say 3 specific phrases. But it can't be mechanical. It has to be with a real intention to connect with yourself. The 3 phrases are, I love you exactly as you are. I forgive you for all past mistakes. I trust you to create an incredible future. Louise Hay discovered that these 3 phrases cover the 3 dimensions of self-love: acceptance of the present, healing of the past, and trust in the future. At first, it will be strange. You might even want to laugh or cry. Louise Hay said that's normal, because you're breaking years of conditioning of mistreating yourself. You're learning a new language, the language of self-respect. Some people report that the first few times they can't even look themselves in the eye in the mirror. Louise Hay said that this is a reflection of years of avoidance, of shame. But with persistence, this discomfort passes and gives way to a beautiful intimacy with yourself. After a few weeks of practicing the mirror ritual, something magical starts to happen. You notice that the critical voice in your head becomes weaker, that you defend yourself more quickly from your own criticisms, that you automatically start treating yourself with more kindness. Louise Hay observed that people who did this ritual for 21 consecutive days experienced profound changes not only in self-esteem, but in all areas of life. They began to set healthier boundaries in relationships. They stopped accepting jobs that didn't value their potential. They made decisions based on what they really wanted, not on what they thought they should want. And the most incredible thing, they began to attract people and opportunities that reflected their new level of self-respect, as if the universe were responding to the new frequency of self-love they were emitting. Louise Hay always explained this through the law of the external mirror. She said that the external world is always a reflection of our internal world. When we change our internal relationship, we automatically change our external reality. If internally you treat yourself with contempt, externally you attract people who treat you with contempt. If internally you devalue yourself, externally you accept situations that devalue you. But when internally you honor yourself, externally you only accept relationships and situations that also honor you. And there's something even deeper to this. Louise Hay discovered that when a woman develops genuine self-esteem, she automatically becomes a beacon for other women. Without preaching, without forcing, just being a living example that it's possible to truly love yourself. She stops competing with other women because she no longer needs to prove her worth. She stops judging other women because she understands that judgment is always a reflection of internal insecurity. She begins to genuinely celebrate the success of others because she knows it doesn't diminish her own shine. Louise Hay used to say that women with healthy self-esteem create a wave of healing around them. Daughters who grow up seeing mothers who respect themselves learn early on that they deserve respect. Friends who interact with women who value themselves begin to question why they mistreat themselves. It's as if self-esteem is contagious in the best sense. A woman who truly loves herself gives silent permission to other women to love themselves too. And here is the most precious gift that Louise Hay left for all of us: the understanding that self-esteem is not disguised arrogance. It's not feigned superiority. It's not the need to prove yourself better than others. True self-esteem is courageous humility. It's acknowledging your flaws without hating yourself for them. It's recognizing your qualities without being ashamed of them. It's occupying your space in the world without apologizing for existing. Louise Hay lived the last 40 years of her life as a living example that it's possible to completely transform yourself. She went from a woman who hated herself so much that she developed cancer to a woman who radiated so much self-love that she healed millions of people simply with her presence. And if she could do it, you can do it too. Because she didn't have anything that you don't have. She wasn't born special. She simply made the brave decision to stop being her own enemy and start being her best ally. Her transformation begins today. It begins the next time your mind criticizes you, and you choose to respond with kindness instead of agreeing with the attack. It begins when you look in the mirror and choose to see beauty instead of flaws. Louise Hay always ended her talks reminding us that self-esteem isn't a destination. It's a journey. It's not perfection. It's progress. And that every small act of self-love is a victory that deserves to be celebrated. If this video touched your heart, if you recognize that you're ready to stop fighting against yourself and start being your own ally, don't let this inspiration fade away. Subscribe to the channel, because your journey of self-love is only just beginning. And when you transform, when you learn to truly love yourself, you can't keep that light to yourself. It overflows and illuminates everyone around you. Your unshakable self-esteem isn't an impossible dream. It's your birthright, waiting to be recognized. And it all starts with the brave decision to treat yourself with the love and respect you've always deserved. The love and respect you deserve. It starts with you making that conscious, powerful choice, choosing yourself, choosing kindness, choosing love. It's a journey, a beautiful, empowering journey of self-discovery, guided by the wisdom of Louise Hay and the unwavering belief in your own inherent worth.